Willis, in Kenya, especially with what happened this year in June and July, the Gen Z, as Senior Gupta has put it, mobilized online, mobilized on the streets, and said no to a finance bill that many found problematic. And we saw a lot of public participation and public sensitization that has never been seen through TikTok, um, through Twitter, that has never unprecedented, where even bills were translated into local languages. You know, so this uh, sort of alludes to a betrayal of trust of some sort. When did the rain start beating us?
One thing we must all appreciate is we are living in different times, and the tools available and at the disposal of our young people are tools which were not available to some of us in the past. And those tools have revolutionized the world, not just the country. And if you look at it, look at even the downloads that Kenyans are having, or people in the global south are having. Before, Rihanna, for example, released a song, and you'll see 100 million views in 1 month. Diamond released a song also in the same region. He has 100,000 views in 3 months. Today, Diamond is a Tanzanian musician, releases, releases a song, and in 1 day, Diamond is hitting 3 million views. It tells you that the global south has started to listen to itself. And we must start looking at ourselves inwardly as of similar persuasion as the global north. And I want to say, what, for example, triggered the Gen Z revolution? And I want to tie it to the conference conversation. You know, debt is tax in advance. Debt is actually your tax in advance. But if you are going to pay a tax for a debt that didn't come into your country, that you cannot feel its impact, then at present you are promised more tax to pay for that debt or to even meet the basic social needs of the country today. And you are taxing an individual or a group that have not been able to even within themselves raise any significant income. Now, it was a promise of a bleak future. And with the disposal of technology at their hands, I believe the global south has said no. Look at countries that have gone through similar situations as Kenya on the question of tax. You know, you'll be shocked that in Kenya, in the last 10 years, 2013 to 2023, you've borrowed 5.4 trillion Kenya shillings. And I'll ask you, and these are publicly available information. Before, we never knew that our central bank, for example, issues a gazette notice every second week of the month, telling you actuals of receipts and expenditure, actual amount that you've collected, and now it has been expended. You've borrowed 5.4 trillion. And then you are told, in the same period, you paid 6.7 trillion towards debt finance. But the surprising thing is, your debt book is still reading 11 trillion. Now, which is this debt that keeps going up, doesn't go down? And that speaks to how are our public finance management systems operating? Are people borrowing money in the name of the people of Kenya or countries in the global south and not applying it that which is intended? The money is borrowed but does not come into the country. In Mozambique, my favorite country, they took what is called the tuna bond, $2 billion US. The money never entered Mozambique. But the obligation to pay was right inside Mozambique. And they went to court. Civil society groups went to court. And in court, they sued the Attorney General, their parliament, and the National Treasury. The Attorney General and Parliament and the National Treasury were telling the court in Mozambique, Constitutional Court, that we actually have an obligation to pay for this tuna bond. The people are saying, this loan was taken without following our laws. We are the sovereign. It's a sovereign bond. But the money did come to the sovereign. It was not taken in accordance with the laws of the sovereign. But the state is saying, no, you must pay. What did the Constitutional Court in Mozambique say? No. The people of Mozambique did not borrow that money. all they received was an obligation to pay. The consequence of that court decision, Credit Suisse collapsed. Officials, some of them were taken to court. The former president's son is in jail. The head of intelligence is in jail. The head of the treasury is in jail. Because they said, you actually borrowed money in the people's name without following the people's laws, and the people cannot pay for it. And I'll invite Kenyans in the room. When you talk about Eurobond, you know the surprising thing about Eurobond, we talk about it as a very big thing. But how much of Eurobond, for example, came into Kenya? This year, the Eurobond one matured. Principal payment was supposed to be paid. And the Kenyan people were not able to pay it. And you are told, we have to do a refinance. At the time of the initial loan, the interest rate was 5.6%. In the refinancing model, the interest rate rose to 10.3%. These are commercial loans. Now you are paying higher interest for a loan that never came into your country, that was taken in a way that does not follow your laws. And I'm sorry for the judges who are in the room. We want to test this. I hope it doesn't come before any of you, but before other judges. We want to apply the Mozambique model and say, if Eurobond was taken and the money didn't come to Kenya, let's see what our courts will say. But at least we are following the footsteps of the court in Mozambique. You also look at this case of Malaysia with the 1MDB scandal. Again, money taken in the name of the people of Malaysia, money is not applied to the sovereign, and subsequently, at least for the case of Malaysia, JP Morgan was forced to pay back the money. Even part of the interest which they had been paid, they had to release it. And the former prime minister is in jail, and several officials are in jail. We are going to test again in Malaysia what they have done in Malaysia. We want to test it in Kenya and see if in Kenya we can say who is the sovereign. Is it the public or those who are holding public office? Honorable judges, I'm very sorry. Because unfortunately, for us where we are, in fact, it's unfortunate to other people, but fortunately for us, is that the ultimate test of a democracy is in the ability of the courts to assert themselves as the ones who hold the public trust and hold everybody account to their action. So, President, you have a higher role to play in terms of restoring trust, not just in our institutions, but in our governance.